Namaste and welcome to Citti Media. My name is Divyanshi Sharda, your host, and I would like to warmly welcome all of you on our show. At Citti Media, we believe in having insightful discussions on issues not just domestic, but also global. And with this, I would like to warmly welcome our guest for today's show, Sri Rashmi Samant ji. Rashmi ji is an MSc student at the University of Oxford, pursuing a degree in transforming energy systems to address the concerns of climate change, and hails from Udupi, Karnataka. She was the first Indian woman to be elected as the president of the Oxford Student Union and won the election by a landslide victory, creating a historic event. However, she was soon made the target of a vicious hate campaign which sought to vilify her unscrupulously. Rashmi ji, namaste and welcome to our show.
Namaste, and thank you for the very kind introduction.
The pleasure is ours, Rashmi ji. We are honored to have you here.
Likewise.
Dhanyavad. Rashmi ji, I can well empathize how this unfortunate event might have impacted you negatively and how troubling it might be to recount the experience. Therefore, if it doesn't discomfort you, could you briefly walk us through this incident for the sake of our viewers?
Yeah. I ran for the post of president at the University of Oxford for the Students' Union. I got here just 5 months ago and I'm a postgraduate student here. So my chances of winning were like very slim because there were other candidates who have been around for longer. But, I just wanted to just get out of your comfort zone. It's a pandemic year. I thought you only live once and you got to do what you want to do. So I thought I'll run for president. Why not? And historically, surprisingly, in fact, I won the election. My campaign was just based on some heartfelt issues, not based on any political ideology whatsoever. Just some little problems that I saw within the student community at Oxford, and I think it really connected with everybody else. Hence, I got one of the biggest margins, one of the highest voter turnouts, and it was truly amazing. But no longer than I think 3 hours or 2 hours of me winning the election, sort of vicious hate campaign started, which has still not stopped. It's just been escalating ever since, with people bullying me, with people saying hateful things to me on my personal messaging on most of my social media platforms. And when I quit these social media platforms because the hate was getting too much, they started sending me emails to my university email ID, and it just spiraled from there. I was feeling isolated, and it was very distressing for me because of the sheer amount and volume of hate coming in. And hence I was sort of cornered into resigning, and I returned home to be with my parents and to recover. But the hate just didn't stop. People started targeting me based on my religion. People started stalking my mom's Facebook, my father's social media platforms, and taking their pictures and writing horrible things about, my faith, their faith, my upbringing, my undergraduate degree, my hometown. I mean, you can imagine anything and everything about me. They would just rip it apart. So yeah, and it's still ongoing, I guess.
Oh my God, Rashmi ji, just listening to this horrific event just gives me goosebumps, because to imagine how far anybody can go to simply to target somebody only on the basis of their religious or ethnic identity is honestly shameful. And we, the Hindu community and the Indian community, stand by you strongly in this unfortunate event that you're experiencing right now. So, Rashmi ji, on a related note, since you so eloquently enlightened us on this on this incident that you experienced, you must have been quite disturbed after this horrific incident that has taken place. But on a related note, as I said, why, in your opinion, do you think you were targeted in this fashion, especially by a faculty member like Abhijit Sarkar?
Well, I think I cannot get into the head of police and, imagine why they would have any reason so as to torment, people who are barely, out of their teens and who are still getting a college university degree. I honestly don't know where all this hate comes from and why people are so, disrespectful towards fellow human beings and why they just want to torment them and push them out of something they're trying to achieve in their lives. It's just very distressing, to be very honest. And I think it's not the very first time that this has happened, and it's, Oxford is not the first place where it has happened. A lot of incidents of such hateful targeted bullying has come out in various other academic settings, including some in the US, across the pond, and other places. There's been wide media coverage of that as well. And that makes me believe that this is a prevalent issue within, academia, wherein certain people in power, for instance, teachers, people who are supposed to teach the students, have some personal, vendetta or vengeance against, some people, some students, for a certain ideology that they have, and they come after them with everything, and go after families and just make it such an unpleasant situation for the students and yeah, on campus, and make campus feel so unsafe for them. Yeah.
Certainly. Certainly, I can well imagine how distressing it must be for the student body to experience this almost on a daily basis, especially in an educational institution which is supposed to be a safe space for
Exactly.
people all across the world, is unfortunately the exact place where they are singled out
Yeah,
like this.
yeah. And there is some sort of a taboo against speaking out about such issues, because I'm very sure I'm not the first person to have experienced this. And, ever since I came out, people have been messaging me, individually messaging me saying that this happened to me, that happened to me. And, there's some sort of camaraderie that comes from shared experiences. And then I believe that why has nobody spoken about this? Had they spoken about this, maybe I would have been more careful, or we could have put in mitigating steps so that it doesn't happen again. I think part of the reason why I'm doing these talks and recounting painful experiences, even if it's really difficult for me, is so that it doesn't happen again, and even that we are more aware about such issues in academia.
Certainly, that's a wonderful thought that you have taken and implemented upon. Because in these times when a certain group is being targeted, is being victimized like in this fashion, it is absolutely pertinent that the entire community comes together and takes collective measures to battle these instances. So, Rashmi ji, we can well imagine the sort of pain you must have felt because of this selective targeting of you. So, in a similar fashion, did you notice any similar Hindu-phobic trends that existed within the institution of the University of Oxford, which should be brought to light but haven't been?
Well, I haven't before this, I was just a regular student, going about her job, head down in my own corner, doing my own work. And, my Hindu identity is something very personal to me and something that I don't flash out in public or speak about to other people. So it's just, I have a small like murti in my room, which is just mine. And, just these little things you do on festivals, fasting on festivals and stuff like that. I'm sure like other Hindu students are also pretty much, follow that sort of a, lifestyle. We don't go out flashing our religion in, on the streets. So, I mean, at least I did not, experience any sort of blatant Hindophobia or like saw any sights of it, because I think honestly, I wasn't looking for it. Maybe if you put those lens, then maybe you can see it. But I never had those lens because I didn't think it were possible to for such things to exist. And not before my incident, but I think the moment I became like I put myself out there as running for something, and then all parts of my identity suddenly became relevant, even if I wasn't running on any platform of Hinduism, or there was no aspect of religion to this whole campaign. It was just about solving a bunch of student problems, along the lines of mental health strategy, this and that, and something which all students equally feel, nothing specific to students of any religion. And to think of it, that my identity suddenly became a crisis for a person who's just going to solve a bunch of common issues, is just ghastly. But yeah, so that was
Certainly, certainly. We can all empathize with that situation. Even students in India are not spared from this sort of Hinduphobic bullying. And that comes as a surprise because India is supposed to be a country where this community is apparently in a majority, but still faces the sort of discrimination that Hindus abroad do. And this just goes to show that Hinduphobia is very much a reality in the today's in 21st century. It has been a reality since the past 1300 years, or probably even before that. So that's why, Rashmi ji, because Hinduphobia is very much in the discourse nowadays, in discussion to a very great extent, and it was very recently institutionally recognized by Rutgers University after the laudable efforts that were made by the Hindu Students' Council, in which a panel in which you yourself were a part of. So, how does it feel to see your efforts pay off and the discrimination that Hindus face to be institutionally acknowledged?
Well, HSC did a marvelous job in the US, and they've been standing in solidarity with the Rutgers students for very long. And the efforts were Herculean, to be very honest, because to even so as to even bring the authorities to table, to even like convince people to have this motion passed and everything. It was just, I mean, commendable efforts on their part. I was just a part of the panel, and I was just there supporting them all the way. So it felt really great. It just felt like so many of our lived experiences finally got a legitimate name, because even now, I think, like, even before that conference, it was worse. Every time we say Hindophobia, that this happened to us, and there is sufficient proof online. Like, if you go to the profiles of these professors, that the posts are still up, it hasn't been taken down or it hasn't been archived, so you can still see the proper, like, blatant, like, evidence of Hindophobia. But still no one's ready to accept it. Everybody is like, oh, she's faking it, or these people, it's a myth, and these people have nothing better to do with their lives. I mean, I am in a very rigorous academic setting, and I have a lot of other things to do, instead of go behind an imaginary cause. So this is something real, this is something we've lived, and that's the only reason we are putting so much of our efforts into this. And it just felt so good to finally have one institution institutionally recognize it. And we hope that it is just the beginning and many more are to come, so that Hindu students can be protected in a blanket fashion around the world. And that we can finally feel safe in our identity, and like be more secure
Assertive.
on campuses. Yeah.
Very true. Very rightly said, Rashmi ji. So, as you rightly stated that Hinduphobia is now slowly being institutionally recognized, you also mentioned simultaneously that Oxford University, that certain professors and certain faculty members still haven't taken down the Hinduphobic posts from social media. They're still very much up and about and displayed in public cognizance of the same. So, what does this tell you, and what does this rather tell all of us about the attitude of the institution they represent? What has been the response of the institution that you're a part of regarding claims or assertions of Hinduphobia?
If I were to put it very simply, it's just lost in a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy, and I've been promised an answer. So, but the fact that the post is still up speaks for itself, speaks miles for itself about, the extent of it. And, there have been examples of how it has been dealt in other cases when it came to other communities, how swift the action was and how decisive it was in cauterizing any further harassment of bullying of the student. But in this case, it's just been, us raising our voice and, communities coming in support. But still, there's been very little sort of, I don't know, visible actions being done. It sort of shows, I think, about how lightly we are taken around the world, and how insignificant our concerns are, no matter how real and how deep these concerns are. It's just insignificant at this moment, and that we need to advocate more, we need to lobby more for us to be heard more loudly and more clearly.
Very true, very true. And you make some beautiful points, Rashmiji. Definitely, there should be a lot more organized, active campaigning that should be required for asserting the sufferings and the discrimination the Hindu community faces globally. So, Rashmiji, in your opinion, like you yourself stated so wonderfully, that Hindus are taken very lightly all over the world. Our collective experiences, our cultural trauma is laughed off whenever we talk about it. So, why do you think there is such an attitude that tends to deprioritize the horrors that the Indian community, or the Hindu community, sorry, has faced or continues to face?
Well, honestly, I don't think I have a very specific answer for this, but I think from whatever I've seen so far, it's because we are just such wonderful people. We don't want to, go and bother someone repeatedly that, take some action, or we don't want to, we don't want to push someone. And I think in this day and age, you need to be forceful to seek your rights and to, seek action. You need to be forceful and more decisive. But we are, as a community, we are more, compassionate, more kind, and we are more, we don't
Passive
sort
in
of,
that sense.
yeah, yeah, we're very passive in that sense, and we don't really push that much because it's by nature that we are very humble and very, very nice people, and we don't like to go and impose upon other people. And nothing much gets done unless we really, really, sort of bring down some sort of repeated requests, and sort of, amplify our concerns in a forceful fashion. But, as a community, we are not that. We're all about giving, we're all about helping, and we're all about compassion. So I think that sort of, it's a wonderful thing, to be honest, and I think it's what has taken our civilization through time, and it's something that has, it is a part, it is the foundation of our wonderful community. But when it comes to seeking sort of justice for the harassment we go through, it's sort of slightly placed to our disadvantage. Otherwise, it's the most beautiful part of our society and community.
Very true, very rightly said. Very, very beautifully put, Rashmiji. Compassion is definitely the strength of the Hindu community, and it will be for the eternity to come. However, what we as Hindus need to realize in the 21st century is not to let our compassion be mistaken for our weakness, and to ensure that our kindness to others gets reciprocated. We need to be very coercive and assertive about our own sufferings, about our own discomfort, about the wrongdoings that we face collectively as a community. And I'm sure that with voices like you, with voices like the Hindu American Foundation, with voices like the Hindu Students Council, with whom you work very closely in order to institutionally recognize Hinduphobia, we will definitely see lots and lots of beautiful changes being made. And one more organization which definitely should receive special mention in our discussion should be the Global Hindu Federation that Pandit Satish K. Sharma ji is leading alongside with many others from the British Hindu community, especially to cap on the discrimination that you have faced at the University of Oxford. So, in regards to that, Rashmi ji, what have you seen, or rather, what tangible results have you witnessed of the organizational activism that organizations like the Global Hindu Federation and the British Hindu community is advocating for you, for your cause, and rather for the cause of the entire Hindu community? What are certain positive impacts of the same that you might have witnessed personally or on any other basis?
Well, the campaign has been really great. It's been good to be, it's good to know them, and they've been a great source of moral, support for me, and they've always been there. And I think part of the, reason it's to their efforts and partly to their encouragement that I'm even able to be back on campus and keep my head high. I mean, I'm back in Oxford. I'm in this city center, and I'm living my life here, despite all the elements which caused the problems in the first place. Still continue to move around freely in the same small city. It's a very small city. It's this very small village sort of thing where you can get to any corner within 10 minutes. So to be back here and to be living my life back again in person, and to be finishing my course here, I think it takes a lot, and the efforts have been Herculean, and it's been good to have the support.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear, Rashmi ji. So finally, Rashmi ji, what would you say to our viewers and to everyone, rather, all across the globe who still doubt that Hinduphobia is a reality and that this entire victimization that you suffered was all based on exaggeration, hyperbole, and propaganda, and that you weren't, in fact, actually targeted for your Hindu identity, and it was something that you have conjured up or concocted? What would you like to say to those individuals and those people who still doubt that Hindus face discrimination?
Well, I really hope that they change their thoughts about it, and that they can finally see that this is true. We've put out a lot of material. For instance, the Hindophobia conference, the proceedings from there. Some really great academics had come in, and all of the work has been academically packed up. So there are a bunch of videos there. Some academic work has been put out by leading academics, and I think reading up on all of that, and reading up maybe about my incident, there has been a lot of material on that as well, can finally help people understand that this is real, because I can understand that it's not easy for someone to accept it as real unless you've lived through it yourself. For me as well, I did not consider it to be a myth or whatever, but I did not know that it was this serious and this this vicious until it happened to me. So it shouldn't happen to you for you to believe something, because that's just nasty. So I would more hope that people read up about it, they're more aware about it, so that they can probably stop it from happening to themselves, and they can help people around them to whom it happens, because they're finally sensitizing themselves to these issues. And so that this discrimination can end, and we can finally come together as one community globally. That I think everybody wants. Finally, by the end of the day, we just want a peaceful, loving community, wholesome community. Nobody wants any toxicity. So I mean, deep down, everybody is just a wonderful human being. I just feel that they all find that within themselves. Read up more about such incidents and such instances, and so that we can finally come together and progress as a society.
Those are some beautiful thoughts, Rashmi ji, which speak volumes about what you are like as an individual, and what values you possess, which clearly those who targeted you do not. because even after facing so much of bigotry at the hands of so many people from another country and even from within our own country, unfortunately, you still harbor these feelings of compassion, these feelings of brotherhood and solidarity for even amongst the communities and even amongst those ethnicities which might not share a broad opinion that we do or that we possess. So ultimately, this goes to show that the Hindu community, emblemized by your thoughts, is actually trying to bridge these narrow divisions, which are slowly faulting into greater rifts between various religious groups. And so it speaks volumes about what the ultimate objective of the Hindu community is, which is brotherhood. It is not hate, it's not further hatred, it's not further rift in society. It's uniting every community through the resolution of injustice, through eradication of injustice and reconciliation. And with this, Rashmi ji, I thank you so much for joining us on our show. Uh, Thank you for taking out the time to join us on Citti Media. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here, and we are truly honored to have such a beautiful personality like you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Namaste, Rashmi ji.
Namaste.
Dhanyawad. Pranam.